Yamunatira vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashadanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupat Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Ashtottara Shuddha Shishma Svengasi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the Sambhava devotees, all glories to the Sambhava devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Is that Zach's seat?
Yeah, that's my seat. It's not big enough, so I rejected it.
So this morning we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, entitled Status Quo, Chapter 24. If you like, yeah. The renunciation of karma money. We're on text 36. Etan me janma lokesmin.
Etan me janma lokesmin.
Mumukshu nam darashayat.
Mumukshu nam durashayat.
Prasankyanaya tatvanam.
Prasankayaya tatvanam.
Sammathayatma darshane. Etan me janma lokesmin.
Etan me janma lokesmin.
Mumukshu nam darashayat.
Mumukshu nam durashayat.
Prasankyanaya tatvanam.
Prasankyanaya tatvanam.
Sammathayatma darshane.
Sammathayatma darshane. Etan me janma lokesmin. Mumukshanam durashayat. Prashankanaya tatvanam. Samataya darshane.
Etan me janma lokesmin.
Etan me janma lokesmin.
Mumukshanam darushayat.
Mumukshanam durashayat.
Prasankyanaya tatvanam.
Prasankyanaya tatvanam.
ayam samatayatma darshane.
Samatayatma darshane.
Etan me janma lokeshmin.
Etan me janma lokeshmin.
Mukshunam durashayat.
Mukshunam durashayat.
Prasankyanaya tatvanam.
Prasankyanaya tatvanam.
Samatatmaya darshane.
Samatatmaya darshane.
All right. I take it you don't want to chant, huh?
Etan me janma lokeshmin. Mukshunam durashayat. Prasankyanaya tatvanam. Samatayatma darshane.
Etat,
Etat,
this,
this,
me,
me,
my,
my,
janma,
janma,
birth,
birth,
loke,
okay,
in the world,
in the world,
asmin,
asmin,
in this,
in this,
mukshunam,
Mukshunam,
by those great sages seeking liberation,
by those great sages seeking liberation,
darashayat,
Rashayat,
from unnecessary material desires,
from unnecessary material desires,
prasankyanaya,
Prasankyanaya,
for explaining,
for explaining,
tatvanam,
Tatvanam,
of the truths,
of the truth,
sammataya,
Sammataya,
which is highly esteemed,
which is highly esteemed,
atmadarshane,
Atma Darshane,
and self-realization.
and self-realization.
By appearance in this world is especially to explain the philosophy of Sankhya, which is highly esteemed for self-realization by those desiring freedom from the entanglement of unnecessary material desires. So this is Lord Kapiladev speaking, explaining his reason for coming to this world. Purport. Here the word darashayat is very significant. Dor refers to trouble or dukkha, miseries. Ashayat means from the shelter. We conditioned souls have taken shelter of the material body, which is full of troubles and miseries. Foolish people cannot understand the situation, and this is called ignorance, illusion, or the spell of Maya. Human society should very seriously understand that the body itself is the source of all miserable life. Modern civilization is supposed to be making advancement in scientific knowledge. But what is this scientific knowledge? It is based on bodily comforts only. Without knowledge that, however comfortably one maintains his body, the body is destructible. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, antavanta ime deha, these bodies are destined to be destroyed. Nityasokta shariranaha refers to the living soul or the living spark within the body. That soul is eternal, but the body is not eternal. For our activity, we must have a body. Without sense organs, there is no activity. It's pretty logical, right? But people are not inquiring whether it is possible to have an eternal body. Actually, they aspire for an eternal body because even though they engage in sense enjoyment, that sense enjoyment is not eternal. They are therefore in want of something which they can enjoy eternally, but they do not understand how to attain that perfection. Sankhya philosophy, therefore, as stated here by Kapiladev, is tattvanam. The Sankhya philosophy system is designed to afford understanding of the real truth. What is that real truth? The real truth is knowledge of how to get out of the material body, which is the source of all trouble. Lord Kapila's incarnation or descent is especially meant for this purpose. That is clearly stated here. Om Ganati Vedandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshuludmantamina Tasmai Shri Guru Kam Kativachalam Pam Gaite Girim Yat Vipatamaham Vande Shri Gurundaritana Vancha Kapate Bishya Kipasan Bevicha Petitanam Bhavne Bhyo Vaishnavi Bhyo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Radha Shivasri Gaurabhaktanya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. My appearance in this world is especially to explain the philosophy of Sankhya, which is highly esteemed for self-realization by those desiring freedom from the entanglement of unnecessary material desires. So, Lord Kapiladev is explaining why he's appearing in this world, and that is to help the conditioned souls by giving them transcendental knowledge by which they could understand that they're not their physical bodies, not the material bodies, understand that they're the soul, and therefore instead of endeavoring on the material platform, to endeavor spiritually, and in this way make spiritual advancement and go back to the spiritual world. So Kapila Dev is going to give all this wonderful knowledge, all this wonderful spiritual knowledge in the next chapter. It's going to start, the glories of devotional service, which he explains many things, but the life of the conditioned soul, how it actually doesn't work out. You know, they go to lower planets and up and down and all of the universe, and then like that. So it's quite graphic, that description, and nice, wonderful. So the idea is that, as Prabhupada would say, sometimes he would say that you have your plan, I have my plan, and Krishna has his plan. And the idea is to figure out what is Krishna's plan and then follow that, try to execute that. So the general, you could say, plan of Krishna, or the general plan of Krishna, is that, as he's stating here, why is he appearing in this world? To help the conditioned souls go back to the spiritual world. So that is the general plan. And how that is exactly executed depends on time and whether you're depends on time and place and circumstance, because conditioned souls, the point is you have to bring them to the point of chanting Hare Krishna, right? You have to bring them to the point of devotional service. But that's going to happen differently in different places of the world, right? Like in America, it may happen differently than India. How song comes to the point of chanting Hare Krishna. And so on. There's different, in other words, there are different methods of bringing people to Krishna, not just one. And this is a great adventure because, after all, Krishna, he's here personally, right? He is here in this physical world. But, you know, Giridhari is here, Radha Giridhari is here. But they're not going to, you know, come off the altar, dance off the altar, go down Grand Avenue and hop in a car and go downtown to shoot books or something. They're not going to do that. Or they're not going to go out in Harinam or something, or whatever. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not going to go out and dance off the altar. And, you know, it'd be nice if he did, but I don't think he's going to do that. Or at least even if he did do that, we couldn't really see that. Nor what to speak of the materialistic people. Jagannath comes off the altar. Baladev and Subhadra, and they go on their little Rath Yatra, right, through Balboa Park. But my point is that they are asking us, or them and also their representatives are asking us to spread their glories, to bring the conditioned souls to them. That's what's happening. So they're not going to, you could say, do it directly, but indirectly through us or through the Krishna conscious movement, they'll do it. So sometimes people say, "Oh, why isn't Krishna consciousness spreading faster, or this or that or something?" Okay, well, you know, you could speed it up, buddy. You could do something about it. You don't have to just complain all day and night why it's not happening. But the fact is, though Krishna's mercy may be extended to conditioned souls on numerous occasions, over and over and over again, or extended to us, people in general, sometimes people take it and sometimes people don't. Depending on how fortunate a soul is, how receptive a soul is, how pious or good a soul is, they will take it. And if they're unfortunate, if they're impious or, you know, immoral to large degrees and unreceptive, then they're not going to take it. Simple as that. So we don't have to pick our brain, or we don't have to spend, you know, gallons of blood and energy, you know, not physical blood, but metaphysical blood, and energy trying to help somebody who doesn't want to be helped, who's stubborn. There's no point in that. It's like you might as well just go talk to a wall or something. It just doesn't happen. Like I go to some colleges sometimes, and I give talks there to the students, and the teacher, she gives me the responses, how the students liked it and everything. It's kind of interesting to see what their experience was. But there was a fellow, and he just didn't like what I was saying. And there wasn't sound logic, and because somehow the caste system came up, and this and that, so many things. And he, of course, he said how he didn't believe in God, and how he thought it was wrong that religious people, which I did not, at least I don't propagate this particular point that he thought I was saying, but anyways, he said that he thought it was weird or strange how religious people, a lot of the times they say, oh, well, you should do good things, right? But why you should do good things? Because you will get a reward. You will go to heaven. That's why you should do good things. And he was saying, oh, I don't agree with that. I think you should just do good things for goodness sake, just for the sake of helping people. Which I also agree with him. I'm not just trying to help you so you give me some money or something, but to help you because I care about you, right? Anyways, so he wasn't happy with the presentation. I said, okay, well, what to do, But I just thought it was interesting because another person, she said, oh, it was because we chanted too. Oh, it was so wonderful, and I really liked the presentation and the chanting. It made so much sense, and they gave me a cookbook, a higher taste, and I've been cooking recipes out of that, and I've been listening to the mantra, because you can look it up online, right? I've been listening to the mantra and chanting since then. So I was just thinking, oh, this is a difference between a kind of fortunate and unfortunate. That same presentation, and one person, oh, it's so great, and they take it, another person doesn't. It's interesting how that works. Just like we may have so many friends that might have had the same opportunity as us to take to devotional service, to worship Krishna, to become devotees, and then they don't. And somehow that we do. So that's our good fortune. And how does this good fortune, or how do people become inquisitive? Because after all, you have to become inquisitive. That's the point. If you're not inquisitive you have to become inquisitive about Krishna. People are inquisitive, but they're not inquisitive about Krishna or spiritual life. And a lot of this, people come to this point of inquisitiveness is just out of pain, right? They want to make the change because they're feeling pain. They're feeling distress on some level. And it may not be like physical distress. A lot of times it's mental distress, or I want some answers, or frustrations like that. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he would tell many stories, and he told this one story. It's the title of the story is, how many times does a bald man walk under a bell fruit tree? Right? You read that one, right? How many times does a bald man walk under a bell fruit tree? So I forgot exactly if
it tells the story, right? He was there.
Yeah. I forgot if it was somebody who was on the tree who was arranging that the bell fruit would fall, or if it was just falling. But nonetheless, it was falling. So each time he would walk under this tree, this bell fruit would fall and hit him right in the head. You feel pain. And he did that once, and then after that, he said, all right. And each time he would see the bell fruit tree, he would just walk around. So the point is that was there because, the idea behind that is that, yeah, we suffer once, we suffer twice, but eventually, okay, I better not do this, right? This is a stupid thing to do, hopefully, right? And if we don't understand them, that means we've got some problems, right? Got some malfunction upstairs, some malfunctioning. I remember, I don't do this anymore, and I won't do this anymore, but I remember years ago, and it was a fair, these county fairs. So they have them all over. SanDiego, Oregon, small towns, big towns, they go all over, right? And they set up these huge rides. So there's this ride. It looks kind of like you could say how people portray a spaceship to be. A spaceship, it looks kind of wide and quite big. You could fit probably 40 people on it, something like that. So what you do is, there's all these walls. There's a wall around, and then everybody's strapped to the wall like this. Everybody's strapped, and they're all looking at each other, strapped, standing up, strapped to the wall, right? And then, the guy out there, he presses the button, and then the ride turns on. So then you're in this huge spaceship-looking thing, looking at all these people strapped to the wall, and you start going really fast, like really fast. It's horrible, actually. But anyways, I remember being on it, and I was convinced to go on it by some cousins and this and that. But the point is, afterwards, I got sick, and the natural result of sickness.
You got sick on the ride?
Yeah.
Oh.
Got sick on the. It didn't happen on the ride. After the ride, I was sick, dizzy, and then the natural result of sickness, right? So, so the point is, after that year, then that was finished with those rides. I didn't go on those rides anymore. That was it. I would go to the fairground, this and that. But so through our experience, we suffer or we enjoy, and then by that suffering experience, we cease to do that thing that makes us suffer, and by that enjoying experience, we continue to do that experience that we enjoy through. So the idea is that Krishna, he wants people to enjoy. He doesn't want people to suffer. He wants people to enjoy. But he wants them to enjoy eternally, and he wants them to enjoy on the spiritual platform with him, in relation to him. And not being, neglecting him and turning back. So nowadays, the availability of a satsanga, or materialistic association, is unimaginably available and present and in your face constantly. There is billions of opportunities for a satsanga, materialistic association. From the school teachers, to the parents, to the politicians, to the children, every aspect of society, every social circle of society is filled with a satsanga, materialistic association. So it's widely available. But what about sadhu sangha? How much available is that? It's available, but it should be more available, right? It should be more available, and that's what the mission of the Krishna conscious movement is: to create sadhus or sadhvis, right? So female sadhus, but to create saintly association in which people could take and then they could benefit, and that association is given by us personally or by creating facilities for people in which they could flourish spiritually, education system, so on and so on. So that's very important, that we become sadhus or saintly people, and then we give association like that, or we give them the association of Srila Prabhupada through his books in the temple and everything like that. Because the fact is, if people do not get this association, then they just remain, as this purport's explaining, completely entrapped in the bodily conception of life, and ignorant of the goal of life, ignorant of who they are, ignorant of what they should be doing, ignorant of right and wrong. In other words, they're completely lost. They're absolutely lost, being absolutely controlled by their material desires. And as Kapiladev saying here, the point of him coming is to free the conditioned souls from this entanglement, unnecessary material desires. So we have to try to create that facility for people. Because the fact is, we don't have the power, even ourselves, we don't have the power to make advancement without the association of sadhus. You see, people even who have the association of sadhus, they have a hard time. They're here at the temple. You're like super close to Krishna. How much closer do you want to get? How much closer can you get? And still they have issues. And even sadhus sometimes, for God's sake, have issues. So it's a difficult place to live, this material world. So the idea is that we have to take this association of the sadhus, or the saintly people, and in this way we have a chance, or else there's no chance, really. We have a chance to become free of all these materialistic attachments, aversions, attractions, distractions, addictions, right, that we have to this world, that most people have to this world. And to shake these things off, it is no easy task. It could be a little challenging sometimes. But life without a challenge is quite boring. We should actually be trying to challenge ourselves. That, okay, yeah, I may be struggling in Krishna consciousness, but yes, it's a challenge, but it's a good challenge. It's something good for the ultimate good. And if we don't do that, we'll just become bored. And generally, people who don't like challenges, means they're infected by the mode of ignorance. They're just lay back, sit back, sleep back, eat back, whatever it is. Just hello. They're heavily infected by the lower modes of material nature, and that's how a lot of people are nowadays. Actually, unfortunately, they don't like a good challenge. So, yes, it is challenging, but it's that's what life's about. Actually, anybody who's at all successful or at all alive, they like challenges. So we should challenge ourselves. Okay, I want to distribute so many books today, for example. It's a challenge. Or I want to, like I was given the example the other day of the pots. Okay, the goal of life is not just to sit back and watch, or stay back and wash the pots. But if it is our service, for example, then okay, it's a challenge. I'm going to wash this amount of pots in this amount of time. It's a challenge. So, and on and on and on. We have so many challenges we could challenge ourselves with. Or I'm going to read the Bhagavatam, for example. I'm going to finish the Bhagavatam by this year. It's a challenge. In this way, life doesn't become boring. So Kapila Dev, he comes and he is there to establish the real spiritual principles by which people could live and be happy and satisfied and successful. And we are also meant to take on that same mission of establishing these principles throughout the world. And if we aren't taking on the mission of Krishna, then whose mission are we taking? And if we're not serving Krishna, then who are we serving? If we're not serving our spiritual guru or our gurus, who are we serving? So that's the question. It means we're serving. Anyways, you could think about that. There's actually this. I ran into this article. It's probably about 40 years old, and it was written. It was given to me by Bhakti Bob. He found it somehow or other. He finds all types of stuff. But it's called Stumping in the Material World. So it's by Jim Cohen. But I thought you might find it interesting. So I'll just read it. And it's in relation, and anyways, I thought you'd find it amusing. So I'll just read that. In a story entitled Inflation, Who's Pulling the Strings? The newspaper attacked the corporate managers who purposely restrict the supply of grain, milk, and fuel. It condemned these money moguls for forcing the American people to work very hard at a hellish occupation simply to eke out a living. and for artificially increasing demand through the lying propaganda of advertising. An editorial from the People's Daily World, question mark, an analysis in the Militant, question mark, no. These statements come from the recent issue of a new publication of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, better known as the Hare Krishna movement. The saffron-clad Hindus are going into politics, running candidates in God We Trust party for purified leadership. The Krishnas have thrown their karma into the ring in 5 elections this year, offering candidates for offices in New York, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, and Gainesville, Florida. Will the Hare Krishnas be running candidates in SanDiego? Question mark. I don't know, Ryan, maybe you'll be doing that? And here it is, the answer. As soon as the opportunity arises, promised a Krishna spokesperson. Adding, Krishnas would consider offices from boards of education and city councils to Congress. For years, Krishna devotees have attempted to convince materialistic, neurotic, achievement-oriented Americans that real freedom and enlightenment can only be gained by chanting the name of Lord Krishna. Krishna followers proselytize while chanting on street corners, peddling incense in magazines and shopping centers, and inviting the public to free Sunday vegetarian feasts at their temples. But times have changed in the Krishna newspaper. The New World Harmonist says, leaders who are generally God-conscious must replace American elected officials who are overwhelmingly financed and controlled by the vested interests of big business. It's not customary for Brahmins, spiritual teachers, to take post as public administrators. So this is, now it's going to say who is saying all these things. Explained Gunagrahi Das, a devotee at SanDiego's Krishna Temple at 3300 2nd Avenue. But our present so-called administrators aren't doing the job. The reason there's so much lying, cheating, and stealing in this society, Grahi asserts, is that our leaders aren't strong, resulting in corruption and little morality in government. The political Krishnas firmly believe that great leaders inspire citizens to follow in their footsteps. Whatever standards the leaders set by their exemplary acts, they say, will be naturally adopted by the people. Accordingly, the party requires strict behavior of its candidates, who must obey the following rules. So he talks about the 4 principles. No eating of meat, fish, or eggs. By abstaining from eating animals, the qualified leader will not cause unnecessary pain to any living being. And then the parentheses. While the Krishnas refrain from meat eating out of compassion for animals, the harmonists also quotes Secretary of Agriculture Earl Butts as saying, meat is the most inefficient source of nutrition on the planet. And then the second one. No illicit sex. Illicit sex results in the production of unwanted population, which fills the prisons, or in the murder of unwanted children through abortion. No taking of intoxicants of any kind, including coffee, tea, or tobacco. Intoxication destroys all good judgment and makes the users concerned only with their own immediate satisfaction and callous to the suffering of others.
Now, is this the man offering his own commentary?
I think this is
quoting Gunagrani.
I think he's quoting him. Yeah.
He must be quoting Raj.
Yeah.
Or else he'd be very...
Otherwise, we know him. He's in the ashram.
No indulgence in gambling or speculation. Speculative business enterprises. These activities lead to increased greed and cheating for personal advantage. So just a few more here. With such purified leaders, says Grahi Das, the people will gradually embrace the laws of God, the real laws we must follow, and begin reading the Bhagavad Gita and chanting Krishna's names. As the only country which can alleviate the world's food shortage, the United States should use its vast production potential to provide a plentiful supply of grain for the world's hunger, according to the Krishnas. The Hare Krishnas' communism is a simple extension of their belief that the earth is created, owned, and controlled by God and is meant to be shared by all God's children, not monopolized by the money moguls. The United States has the potential for producing an abundance of food, says the Harmonist. I guess this was the newspaper, the Harmonist, the devotee newspaper. We're convinced our program can work, says Grahi Das, because it comes from God and is working perfectly in our how do you say that word? Communes, yeah. So that's the end of the article. So Bob gave that to me. I thought it was kind of interesting.
And that was printed in what?
I don't know. I mean, it says when...
No, but is it SanDiego Union? Is it then a reader? What was it printed in?
I don't know. It doesn't say here. But it was when they're on the 2nd in Balboa Park by that temple there, so it's quite some time ago. So the point is that I just thought that might have been amusing to everybody. Hopefully it was. But aside from that, that 30, 40 years ago, or whenever this was put together, devotees had a program they're following, a mission, trying to help people and get people to Krishna, get people to God consciousness, and so on. And they were going about that in different ways, right? So, and he was mentioning, Gunagraj Swami in the paper here was mentioning money moguls and all this type of stuff, right? The materialistic American civilization, all these different points, which are practically the same as they were then, as they are now. And as devotees were trying to help the situation then, they are now. So the point is, it's always the same business, the same family business, trying to, as Kapila Dev is also coming to help the conditioned souls. So similarly, that's what the devotees are doing. Whether it's now or 40 years ago, this paper's explaining, or 500 years ago, or whatever, 5,000 years ago, Krishna coming. So it's all the, as the Bible says, right, nothing new under the sun in terms of what is going on in this world and what needs to be done to fix it. All right, and by doing this, people will understand how to attain perfection by Kapila Dev's instructions. What is the real truth? That they're not the physical body, that they're the spirit soul. And they'll understand the purpose of their life. And this is a glorious thing if we could somehow or other participate in that. So does anyone have any, yes?
I have some comments and a question. My question is, you said, how many times does a bald man go under a veil? I didn't quite catch, and maybe it's for this, what difference does it make that he's bald?
I don't know. Maybe because, when you're bald, you definitely feel the sun easier. I don't know if you feel a bell fruit.
Maybe there's no insulation of hair,
yeah.
so it hurt more?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take that answer. I was just thinking about comment, people's ability, some people are ready to, are sufficiently pious that they can take to Krishna consciousness, and some people, no matter what you do. And Prabhupada said, it's what's easier to wake, a man who's sleeping or a man who's pretending to sleep? So a man who's pretending, a man who's sleeping, he's shaking, he wakes right up. A man who's pretending to sleep, you can pour a bucket of water, you can light the bed on fire. He's not going to get up, he's faking it.
Yeah.
So people who don't want, who have their plan, they have their program, they have their desires, and they don't want to hear about Krishna. They don't want to wait them to change. No way. So what can you do? You have to move to somebody who's, wants to wake up. Then it becomes very easy.
Yeah. I remember there being bhaktis in the ashram here. You would go to wake them up, 7:15 or whatever, come to the... And they'd, it'd be obvious that they're pretending to be asleep. Anyways. None of you.
How you can wake them up?
Prasad?
Say, Siddhita Vijja. Right away, time for prasad.
Yeah. Does anyone have any other?
I have one other thing if nobody else has it. The comment, well, why isn't everyone taking to Krishna consciousness and why isn't it spreading faster and all? If you actually look at the thing, the Christians were being, for the first, 200 years, something like 300. They were hiding in the catacombs. They were being persecuted. They were being thrown into the lions. It took, whatever it was, hundreds of years before they even got rolling. Even if you take a fast, like the Mormons were very fast, but it took them 150 years before they actually became accepted. They still can't run a Mormon for president. But, to establish their social system, their economic balance, took a long time. So actually, Krishna consciousness is spreading very quickly. I mean, you go out dressed. I remember going out I remember doing book distribution in Alabama in the mid-70s. And going into a grocery store dressed like this and feeling, I was standing in line with whatever we were going to, produce or whatever. And when you feel someone staring at you? I mean, the whole grocery store had stopped. They were wondering, where's the mother pod? I mean, they thought I was from outer space. They had no idea what was happening. We would tell people, it's a book on yoga. People say, oh man, I don't eat yogurt. I say, no, back up, try to get yoga. And the corny joke, I'll tell the corny joke, because it makes a point. A man's trying to explain to his dim-wit friend that, if you act piously, if you act properly, in your next life, you're born in a more elevated state. The guy says, oh, like Colorado? So, I mean, but it was like that. I'm telling you, Prabhus were not, it was like that. Now people know karma, yoga, vegetarian. If they're not a vegetarian, they become apologetic. I don't eat red meat, or I'm working on it, or, it's a whole new world. I was on the phone the other day. I was calling my insurance company, and I had to go through a receptionist. So when she transferred me to the right thing, she said, and Hare Krishna Prabhu. I mean, who knows who she was, But I said, Bhajan Right Swami, whatever, So the point is, they're all over the place. I was just at the grocery store. I had to get something for the deeds. I was at the grocery store just now, and the cashier asked me, when do you have that festival in Los Angeles? With all the chanting. She was asking about Rath Yatra. She used to live in Venice Beach and used to go to Rath Yatra. She's a mom. She's somebody's, mid-America. So on one hand, it's amazing. You ask about karma, reincarnation, guru, pandit, monks. They're on board for chanting. Yeah, they're on board. So it's amazing how fast it's actually moved. And Prabhupada used to say, if you're talking cosmic, even in time spans, 500 years ago, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was just here. So we have to, have a clear picture of history, even mundane history, and we'll just speak of cosmic history. Things are moving at a rapid clip.
Nice.
I just had to throw that in. Trying to get you across the line, Balaram, that's all.
Elevated state, that's a good one. I'll remember that one. All right, Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki.
Who knew Colorado was the state?
Yeah. I'm still interested why the guy was bald. Didn't have to ask them.
I can look it up in that story.
Prabhupada's joking. He says trees are sentient, and part of the proof is coconuts. Coconut nut, it has, they call it the eyes of the coconut, it says, and there's no recorded history of a coconut falling on anyone's head. So they're benevolent. They're kind-hearted. They can see they're kind. Prabhupada's joking. So I got to find out whether the guy was bald. But I'll remember maybe the insulation is the answer.
It's in that story.
No, I'll have to go back and read it.
I think it's, I thought it was a bald man.
No, I know it is bald, but you're completely right about bald man. There's so many, so many of those stories that Prabhupada tells us come from, the stone for cracking nuts, pulling up the anchor attachment, all these things. Yes. Oh.
I asked you some time ago about the power connect. You could get.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, am I still on?
Yeah.
And what time? If I'm over at 7, what time do you start? Was it 10 or 7? Huh? I don't know. Nothing's changed.
No, nothing's changed.
Prabhupada makes that point repeated, and Krishna makes the point.
Whose nectar is this?
Arjuna 5,000 years ago.
I just threw it there like 1 minute ago from the thing upstairs.
Nothing's
Is
changed.
it yours?
Maybe.
All right, so we should be.
Oh, it's getting close and mercy. You better be careful.
All right, well, I'll be there by Krishna's grace tonight. Hey, rather save it for them? Or rather for you? No, I'm sorry, I always get confused.
It's okay.
Sign of senility. But I have the check here for the